So here's a question. Why don't they make remote voting possible? Is that coming?
I appreciate you raising this. It's frankly outrageous that Congress isn't in the 21st century and that we can't vote remotely. I mean, you have cases of Congresswoman Katie Porter and Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley who may have COVID-19. They obviously can't come in. They should be able to vote remotely. People have resisted this in Congress out of tradition, but we need to get into the 21st century and do what almost every other major institution does, which is have the provisions to work remotely.
So is anyone even talking about it, Congressman?
Yes, I mean, frankly, it's a generational issue. Most of the members who are under 50 who have worked in the private sector and who understand what technology has done have written a letter saying that Congress needs to have remote voting. I mean, imagine if there was another catastrophe or, God forbid, something happened to Washington, D.C. We have no emergency preparedness plan. I mean, most companies have better plans, and we just need leadership that's going to get Congress into the 21st century and listen to some of the younger members who have said this is commonplace in almost any workplace outside Washington.
So I'm hearing the vote is tomorrow. I think that's what Nancy Pelosi is saying, but you'll know more than me. What's next? Is it tomorrow for a vote?
It is tomorrow, but fortunately in this case, I think we're going to have unanimous consent. Where the vote in the Senate was 96-0. So the hope is that it will go through in a unanimous way and won't require people actually voting and pushing a button. But this whole thing should be a lesson to Congress to have plans going forward. I mean, look, one of the legitimate criticisms that people have is why is Congress not working during this crisis? On the other hand, we don't want 435 people from around the country flying in when we've told everyone to shelter in place. And there's an obvious solution, which is remote work, and which we should be working towards.
As you know, a lot of people are already wondering how soon money might be available. Do we know?
Well, the money is going to be available, $1,200 for people making under $75,000, households under $150,000, probably in a few weeks in direct deposit. It could take a couple months if people don't have a direct deposit with the IRS. I think it's an important step, but we need far more. I mean, in my district, $75,000 is not enough. There are people in the working class or middle class who make more than that who need help, and a one-time payment isn't enough.
So there are some serious disagreements, changing the subject slightly, about how soon people should be able to go back to work, and some experts are saying too soon to be considering it. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I am the one person in Congress who's called for a national shelter in place. I wrote a letter that 20 other members signed saying we should do that for 2 weeks. And that's what Bill Gates, that's what all of the medical experts have said if we really want to curb the spread of the disease. Let me give you a concrete statistic. In Santa Clara County, we were the first county, I'm so proud of that, to shelter in place on March 16th. Since then, there's been about a 45% increase in COVID-19 cases. You compare that to the country, which has had a 1,000% increase since that time frame in cases. So we know shelter in place works, and that's really, in my view, what we ought to be doing nationwide.
And tell me what you're hearing from your Bay Area constituents. What are their primary concerns right now?
Well, the primary concern is rent. I mean, a lot of small businesses, restaurants, they're concerned how they're going to make ends meet. I was heartbroken. An individual said, look, he had spent 20 years of his life building a restaurant. He was an immigrant. This was everything he worked towards. And now he fears he's going to lose it because he can't get a break from his landlord on his rent. We need a moratorium on commercial rents and individual rents and mortgages. That's one of the biggest things I'm hearing. And then there's, the human cost of this. I mean, people are not being able to see their elderly parents. They're not being able to see their grandkids. This is the first time a lot of folks in my generation have had to deal with scarcity, where they can't get toilet paper or can't get the things online that they want. I think we are yet to see all of the psychological human costs that this is going to have, and that's something very much on the minds of my constituents.
All right, Congressman Ro Khanna, I know you have a lot to do, and you're more than a little busy. Thank you so much for giving us this time.
Thank you. Thank you for your excellent reporting and keeping people informed of what they can be doing. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Congressman. Talk to you again.